Hello, 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 and welcome back to State of the League. We got Season 6 all wrapped up. Regular season is done. We have our standings, and hell of a series. My name's Darth Ed. I'm the host. My co-host Zabel over to the right of me. And we got Mr. Neat down at the bottom. How's it going, everyone? No? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I was just pretending I couldn't hear you.
Oh,
I was
my
sitting here like
God.
this.
I was waiting for him to go first.
How's it going, everybody? Dude, we're big league chilling right now.
League
Super
chilling.
excited this weekend. We're popping off with the quarterfinals for the playoffs. I cannot wait to get into that. I'm super hyped for it. So I'm doing good. Just drinking gin, smoking, trying to relax.
Yeah,
Congratulations on your week off.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant from work, and I was like, dude, I get a week off from work.
No.
I didn't even know.
dude, it's super stressful not being in playoffs. I get to just chill and watch you guys.
Is that stressful or stressless?
It's stressless.
That'll be nice. We'll have to get you up on the caster desk. Jump in with some of the Mr. Neat knowledge.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of it.
Mr.
Yeah, that's fair.
Short supply, apparently.
Next season, though. Next season.
Next season.
I'm
Hell yeah.
going to be working on that during the off season.
All right. Yeah, so unfortunately, Raptors are out along with Sentinels. They ended up going 7th and 8th in this. Yeah, apologies. But there's always next season. You guys are going to come back swinging, and we love that about you. And then we have the rest of the standings. Our 6th place is Mountain, 5th place Scuttle Crab, 4th place Air, 3rd place Ocean, 2nd place Infernal, and 1st place a Brambleback by game time only. And yeah, we
Specifically, a minute and 45 seconds of game time.
specifically, but we kind of predicted where teams are going to end up. I think everyone in the early season was kind of off about Ocean, but we'll get into that a little bit later. We're just going to go through and kind of talk about last week's games, then do kind of the season recap. Then we got a little bit of a MVP discussion coming our way. Just going to throw some names out of people we think have performed exceptionally well, or, whoever. Everyone else has their own definition of what an MVP is. And then we're going to go for the quarterfinals and discuss what we think is going to happen there. And after that, we'll have a Q&A, and y'all can hit us up with questions about anything. So get them ready. All right, last week's games. They were pretty spicy. They were pretty fun. They all had some sort of playoff implication. And we can start on the first one, which was Air versus Scuttle Crab. And I believe I casted this one. Actually, no. No, I did Raptors and Mountain. I lied. All right, so this series was a 1-1 between Scuttle and Air. Scuttle took the first one. Air took the second, for all of you who haven't seen it. And I would highly recommend watching it because it was pretty fun to watch. So, Zabel, take me through it.
Air Scuttle. That one was really hype, and crucially, that's actually a rematch in the quarterfinals, first round. Won't get into that now, but the Air versus Scuttle matchup. I think I casted this one actually?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so like in Scuttle Crab's draft, a lot of people have been banning just like straight up Rise Vladimir and like Cassiopeia. They actually let the Rise through in the first game. Shoemaker had that one for himself, and honestly, it looked like they had a good counter pick set up for it with the Wukong because he could not do anything in lane. He ended the game 0-6. Adomo was pretty fed up in the top lane at 4-2, and I was really disappointed with Air Drake in this draft and how the game played out because there was a little bit of anti-synergy in their composition with picking double scaling with the Rise Kassadin, who both kind of need assistance in their lane matchups, and then picking a jungler who cannot offer that assistance early in the Kayn, or at least cannot offer that to the extent that Kassadin might need it versus a Syndra. And then a bot lane, which also kind of needs early pressure to snowball, right, with the Draven Leona into the Caitlyn Alistar. So the early game was already a little bit scuffed from the get-go with the draft. And then the way it played out, they actually were able to stabilize somewhat in the mid game with getting some kills onto the Draven and the Kassadin Unstream picking up a few as well, and then opted to go into the Blue Cane build, which isn't inherently bad, but I think having the extra appeal and CC and team fights for the Wukong and Alistar getting onto your backline would have been a little better with the Red Cane. And then there were moments in that game where Air Drake was forcing fights time and again, either not around objectives or not around important objectives, with their scaling comp that if they just get 4 or 5 items, they just insta win, honestly, with Kassadin like Rise. So I think a little more slow and controlled pace from Air Drake. Obviously, I know a little bit about that. Would have been beneficial to them, but not to take anything away from Scuttlecrab. 420 Blazed Nerd pulled out the Morgana jungle and actually was really strong on it. Zine popped off on the Caitlyn, ended 8-1, and Aetherfox, as always, super solid on the Syndra, as well as obviously Doma and Silky doing their part as well. So I think a good capitalization on some unforced errors from Air Drake for Scuttlecrab to take the W away in that one in, I think, 33 minutes. So was a banger of a series. Definitely some misplays from Air Drake along the way to net Scuttlecrab that victory, but they capitalized super well. The second game, honestly, was kind of stompy. Air Drake kind of turned on the gas after that first one, and they all ended the game with like very strong KDAs. Really wasn't much going on for Scuttlecrab in that game. There were a few highlight plays, but overall, Air Drake kind of snowballed every single lane. Unstream with 4-0-15 on the Amumu was looking absolutely monstrous. And a sickly, obviously, on his token Yasuo was loving that. So
we actually got a Yasuo win this season.
We did.
Hell yeah!
Finally, broke the streak. Killed the curse.
He didn't have to hit the 10 death spike either.
No, he popped off. He looked good.
Yeah.
Mr. Neat, what do you think about the series? What'd you like? What'd you hate?
Like, the team did much better when Iceclee was on the champion that we've seen him play regularly. Like, Kassadin's not that hard of a champion. I just haven't seen him play it that much. I don't know if maybe he wasn't as comfortable with it. But I also think match 1, too, the Morgana and the Alistar are really good against the Leona. Like Morgana's spell shield stops that, and then Alistar could just actually knock anybody away who's trying to kill the ADC. So they had really good protection against that ulti to try to like go in on somebody. And I just think their comp was overall better on like the side of Scuttlecrab the first game, but like Air, like just past a weeks, just hasn't been seeing it. But they turned it on in game 2 and then just actually played to the Air level that they should have been playing with.
Yeah, and something I was talking about with my team during the game was Zeem's Caitlyn, game 1. It was very interesting because, I mean, Caitlyn has the advantage over Draven in lane. You just have the range and you can poke him out. And you have an Alistar who's going to be able to knock away the Leona every time she goes in. But it seemed like Zeem was very much respecting the Draven Leona. So he kind of, the Wild Tortuga on this Draven looked really good game 1 and also game 2. He outfarmed the Caitlyn and was able to put down a lot of pressure, but they ended up losing through some, I don't know, I feel like Air could have easily won that game 1. They just threw a lot of early game skirmishes they didn't need to take, like what you guys were saying.
But yeah, they definitely had the skill and like everything to win the game, but yeah, it was their game to lose and they lost it.
Which, does that speak more towards Air not being comfortable, or does that speak more towards Scuttlecrab knowing what to do to make a team throw?
I think it's little. I
guess. I mean,
what do they do? Grab their keyboards and change all their quick casts? Like they were unforced errors from Air Drake. Yeah. Realistically speaking, like Scuttlecrab did do their part in capitalizing on them, but there was no business for Air Drake fighting at like in the mid game with that composition as much as they were. Obviously, Scuttlecrab is going to win out on that when they have their item spikes earlier and their champions also spike earlier. So. Yeah, but it was just unfortunate.
Scuttlecrab was getting to objectives first. They were setting up for him, and they were forcing Air to walk into him to try to engage if they like wanted to fight for a Rift Herald or wanted to fight for the couple of the early dragons.
Yeah, they just shouldn't have fought for him, right? Like they can seed the first few, and then come online and fight on like Drake 3 and 4.
Well, like, and even when they were like when Air was losing in the fight, they were still trying to fight instead of just walking away and leaving. Like they were just continuing the fight over and over until they all got killed.
No homie left behind. Come on, let's see a takeaway.
Homie left behind.
Yeah,
It's
leave
the
them, pick
ocean
up the
way.
body later.
Yeah, and we'll move past this one right now because we're going to be talking about it a little bit later when we get into the quarters discussion. Scuttle and Air. I mean, I like so much that this series was a 1-1 because the mental going into quarters is like, all right, anybody can win now, and that's
Yeah.
going to be fun to explore. But next series was so close as well. Mountain versus Raptors, playoff spot number 6 on the line. Whoever won this series 2-0, or sorry, if Raptors won the series 2-0, they were in. In game 1, god damn it, they did it. They came out swinging and they took the game. Game 2, however, Mountain struck back.
Yep.
What's up, Mr. Neat? Tell me
Oh.
about the series.
Game 1, I think we also had them off balance based on the whole like slightly being tilted and everything because they locked in. But we prepared that. Some people say it was an obvious mistake, but to be fair though, like he has played top and Quaz has played jungle a few times this season, so we actually prepared that way. But like, yeah, they were thrown off a little bit, and like we were actually able to like take advantage of the matchup in top lane. Charismatic did really well. The second game he didn't do as well. Like Shen is his main. I just don't think as a team we just never practiced it as well as my Morgana because it was always banned. So we had two champions we never really practiced with. So I think it was a mistake to choose the comp that we did the second game, and it showed. We were not as comfortable. We weren't a team as much as we were the first game.
That's fair. I know a little bit about that. Our team kind of suffered the same thing against Ocean. Looking a little shaky on your champions that you're supposed to main. But yeah, no, the series was super close. Game 1, you guys absolutely roasted them, and that made all the hype for game 2 even more important.
Like even though we were behind game 2, like we started coming back too, and then we threw it again later.
Yeah. How was your mental going into game 2 after you guys won game 1?
We were hyped. I think we were too hyped up, and I was trying to calm us down a little bit. I don't think it worked. I think we went into the game 2 a little cocky too and underestimated our opponents a little bit, especially with the comp that we chose. And I think we should have respected them a little bit more.
It was honestly a very fun comp to watch, though. You pick
The
4 champions that are just gonna go in,
Yeah.
and then the Morgana.
Yeah. Triple backline dive with a Shen. Kind of left you out to dry on that Morgana. Probably more times than one. It was definitely interesting. Were you expecting them to go with the Urgot top lane into the Shen? Was that something that you were prepared for, or?
I think it should have been fine. Like Shadow's a good player. Like when he does well, like he has his days. Like like it's either like really up here or really down here. But no, he played insanely well there. I think Shen should win the matchup early, and then Urgot I think takes the mid to late game. If you let them get to it, I think we needed to try to win earlier. And the problem is with the Nocturne and Shen, it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick that can work really well, but once they get smart to it, which they did, it doesn't work as well. You can't, like when they're grouping as 5, you can't Nocturne Shen anyone.
Yeah, and I think Endo also played game 2 super well in the Tristana, who was buffering a lot of the CC that was coming out, and he was always just a hair away from dying from LeBlanc or Shen or Nocturne. And I don't know. Props to him for coming.
Oh
in
yeah, no,
at a
like
sub-position.
Endo and Kanabi played like amazing that second game. It was a rough lane. It was really fun. I give them props.
Hell yeah. Zabel, how'd you feel about the series? Do you think Mountain deserved to win over Raptors?
They got hard smashed in the first game, but they only had to win one game. So they brought it back pretty well with their mental for the second one. Just looking at the scoreboard here, I think what Mr. Neat was saying, the draft from Raptors in Game 2 was a little greedy and maybe like just going on a hype train a little bit. Probably could have used a little bit more team fight power in the composition with something like a Kaisa, maybe a little bit more of a front line to like be in the way while she dives to the back line. But it was just so hard. You know, they had a Echo and Urgot that were going to be like almost unkillable in most of these team fights to the damage profile coming out from Raptors, just with the way they itemized. And Endo really did. Endo and Kanabi played extremely well in that second game after getting hard stomped in the first game. So props to them for turning it around. And that was probably a little bit unexpected if you're coming off the momentum from like a massive lead on a Kaisa in the bot lane in Game 1, and then you can't really find a lot of that success in Game 2. It's really tilting. So it can kind of snowball your mental from there. Like every kill, it's just like great.
We also weren't expecting the Echo coming for out of Quaz either. Like we didn't plan at that. I don't think I've seen him play like any games as match history has it.
Like some people like Quaz who've been playing for a long time can just, if you're playing for a long time like Quaz, you can kind of pull out champions that you maybe played a long time ago. You know, they're kind of simple to play to a serviceable level in the rec league. Obviously, getting up towards like higher elos, the mechanics become really important with like specific champion matchups and stuff like that. But he definitely looked like he's familiar with it enough to be able to pull it out, and that's something people should start considering. If he does go back to the jungle ever, if they fuck up their lock-in again. But,
I don't know. We can check. It's online.
They didn't fuck it up this time.
No, they didn't.
Just
the number one
PSA.
The number one game plan was don't give Shadow Silas. The rest was secondary.
It definitely does speak to Mountain's mental, though, that they went into the series at a deficit with the mess up of lock-in. They lost Game 1 pretty hard, and then they were able to actually come back and win Game 2. Like, the fact that they didn't mental boom in Game 2 is kind of crazy.
It's no, like, yeah, it speaks to them. I'm really glad that they showed up that game, even though we lost and got put out of the playoffs. Like, with this stuff and the mistakes that happened, yeah, they could, like you said, could have just mental boomed, but they didn't, and that was really good to see. And like, I kind of hope that they carry that momentum forward.
Yeah, I do think Crack Variety only plays symbol champs though, so that's a statement we can go for.
Quaz.
I know. I was turning it around.
Oh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Shout out. All right. Well, sorry, Raptors. You did well. You played well, and you were fun to watch. But unfortunately, didn't end up collapsing or winning some of those needed.
You're
games.
the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Less cliche. All right, and then next matchup we had was also a freaking spicy one. Ocean versus Brambleback. For Ocean, the series didn't matter at all. They were still third place. For Brambleback, however, they're fighting for the first place spot. As long as the games didn't go to like 70 minutes each and they won both of them, we would have secured first place, I think. Yeah, but sorry, I was reading Crack Variety's comment. But yeah, they were on very spicy games. Brownback ended up winning 2-0, and I think they both went to about 45 minutes each.
Yeah.
Which was really, really fun.
It was insanely long.
Honestly, yeah, an MVP of the match for both games, 100% for me, is Jmu.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That dude was fucking nasty. He was match 1, 11-6-13 on the Ezreal. Match 2, 12-2 and 11 on the Aphelios. Was looking absolutely disgusting in the bot lane role in both games. And honestly, like, for most of Game 1, like, you guys are straight running it down. Like, with the exception of Pickle Popper, who ridiculous KDA, I think 18-5 and 8 in Game 1. Ocean, I think, like, net performance in Game 1 as a team was stronger, but some late game team fight chokes at like times when the death timers are really high just like absolutely fuck them. So like they have to fortify their mental and like late game shot calling and stuff, and if they do that, they're contenders like for winning the whole thing, because they have shown they can get consistent early advantages time and again. I mean, obviously against our team,
they got the same story.
Yeah, they're same story. Like we hard inted, well not hard inted, but like we were like not doing that well early on.
No, you hard inted.
We hard inted. We soft inted. Medium int. But they honestly they were like outplaying us, and a lot of times in the early mid game, and then when the late game came around, it came down to the late game shot calling, which is Infernal special. They got Dragon Soul, but we were able to team fight, get the Elder Drake and Baron, and end the game, and that's just like that's how that goes in the late game. If you're shot calling and your rotations aren't crisp, then there's teams that if they have practiced on playing in that late game, even from a deficit, then they're going to be able to match you, if not beat you.
Is that the Infernal special or the Bramble special?
Like we're not talking about your game yet, Austin. Wait.
it's a good thing to draw there for.
Yeah, no, it is because like these are the two teams that are in front of them, right? Our teams, Infernal and Bramble, and they went 0-4 against them with the same kind of thing. They got ahead, and then they ended up doing very, very well, fighting around objectives, taking good skirmishes, but then late game just not being able to close out, which is a big issue.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Like Pickle is a very proficient mid. Like it's his main. Like he plays a lot of mid. You can't let a game go to 47 minutes when you have a proficient Vigar. Like it's just it doesn't work out well. Like he's going to do so much damage. Like and it was like really relevant. Like he would do it with W and it like the entire team would be chunked.
Yeah, and late game Vigar W's on a 3 to 2 second cooldown, which is absolutely ridiculous with 1000 AP.
Yeah, and I think Cage at that point too is only like 7 seconds too. So it's like
W gets down to like 1 second, doesn't it? With the scaling cooldown from your Phenomenal Evil stacks, gets pretty low.
I know Q does. I think W is still a little bit higher.
Yeah, doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, at that point, he's still casting it 4 times in the team fight easily, at the start.
Cockfighty, like for sure, like the Pickles Oriana ults and ball positioning were so good. He like the fight that decided the game was, I think, the last fight of the game. Obviously the last fight of the game is going to be a decider, but Jmu got caught out with the Oriana ultimate and just got pretty much one shot. Didn't have any summoners up, but still was positioned around the ball. And when you're 12 kill Aphelios in the late game, you definitely want to be alive.
Yeah, like he had GA too. Like he needed to be like farther back and let everyone else be in their front, like until his GA came back up.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Worthy Dust Blitzcrank though.
It was sick. It was so sick.
That man hit so many hooks.
Oh my god, he's so good.
Dude,
that's why we banned it game 1.
I thought he was gonna miss. They fucking connected, and I was like, "This dude's he's fucking cheating, dude. He has like hacks on."
Honestly, it felt like he was cheating. It's like there were parts where I saw the Blitzhook coming. It hit me as I was pressing E to buffer it, and then my E just didn't go off, and I was like, "Wait, what is this? This must be sorcery." Just canceled out my E ability.
I would love to play a game with him in bot lane where like we just go Thresh Blitz. It would just be funny.
Yeah. But yeah, no. He is so good. And as an AD carry, like it is a lot easier to look better when you have an amazing support behind you as an ADC. And like I'm sure any ADC can attest to this. But Jmu also just played phenomenally that series.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much did everything perfectly except for the couple of times in that, like he died twice in that second game, and his 2 deaths, the one death even caused the end of the game. So
yeah, like well, and then the first game too, like the troll came out, and Vash is amazing on Trundle. Like just like he affects so much of the map, like when he's on that champion, and he's just so good at it. Like it was nice to see. The Sylas wasn't as impressed on the Sylas.
Yeah, and we kind of said we can play into the Trundle with this kind of more tanky front line and having the Viger Cage in the center route. So we gave it to him, and he just kept coming back for more. He ganked bot like 3 times in 6 minutes. It was so impressive. We didn't get anything else elsewhere. He just Vash. Honestly, we'll talk more about him later, but he's so strong, and I think if Ocean had a different jungler other than Vash, they would not be doing as well because they seem like their mid game is super solid, but their early game, I feel like they need Vash to make these important ganks to get their lanes ahead. And he's so good at doing it, and he's so good at dodging around vision. The dude, yeah, he's absolutely insane. Yeah, game 2 of the Sylas didn't look as great. You're right about that. And I guess Sylas is a harder champ to play than Trundle is.
Had some good moments. I think when you're playing Sylas in that matchup, you don't just want to take an ultimate because it's available and you can take it. I think that if you're playing Sylas and the enemy team has a Sejuani, like Shen or Ezreal Thresh, you really aren't really looking to take the Ezreal or Thresh ultimate as often as you want to take the Sejuani ultimate. Even the Orianna ultimate isn't that great because you have to hard commit to actually get that off on the team because it centers around yourself because you can't position the ball. So I think there's a world where you can really only just farm the Sejuani ultimate on cooldown as if it's just your ultimate. It's a little bit longer, I think, on the cooldown. Maybe not quite, based on his scaling cooldown reduction. But honestly, I think just going for that one every time instead of like picking off randomly the Thresh ultimate a few times when he could have waited and got the Sejuani ultimate in like 30 seconds. Same with the Orianna ultimate. I think if you're going to play that pick in the jungle, knowing like what ultimates to prioritize to be able to best suit your team, because they needed peel aside from the Veigar Cage and the Ornn ultimate, the Sejuani ultimate provides that. I think hyper focus on just taking that one and play around when you can take that one instead of trying to force when you don't have a strong ultimate on Sylas. Little niche thing, but I think it's important.
No, that's very fair.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, obviously, Pickle Popper just played extremely well this series, and he carried our asses across the finish line both games.
Yeah, that was week of the pickle.
Yeah, definitely the week of the pickle.
If we can't have a year of the pickle or a decade of the pickle, we at least have to give the guy a week.
Hey, we don't know about that yet. Like, it could come.
If we can't
decade of the
have
pickle
one,
could be now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Both the endings of the game were super intense too, because it was one team fight, right? And then our comms were just immediately screaming teleport into the base, and even the last fight around Elder Drake, Ocean, or in the first game anyways, Ocean kind of won it. They were 3v3 and our players were a little bit less healthy, and then they got a pick, so it was 3v2, and then Pickle Popper just kind of, zoned him off with Ocean Soul and started killing him, which I feel he just outplayed that fight, which was good for us. So that either of those games could have went to Ocean's way either very, very easily, and makes me excited for playoffs.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
All right. And the next season, the last games on our hand were, honestly, it might not have been as spicy as Oceanbird Brambeck, but they still showed up. Sentinels versus Infernal, dude. These games.
It was spicy. So the first game wasn't really that spicy,
yeah,
right?
First game was not.
First game was kind of a hard stomp. Cobalt 9-0, Shu 9-1, Rovian 7-2. Me and Spence with like modest KDAs, but
way to be humble.
That game, honestly, it felt like kind of a. It felt like kind of a draft win. We wanted the Kayn into the Galio. We were expecting the Galio pick, and then we instantly came when we saw it. The Kazakhs didn't really seem to be able to impact the map super a lot, especially against our team where he didn't really have that many targets to actually isolate and kill. So it was a tough draft from Sentinels. I mean, they played some fights pretty well, but overall it just felt like it wasn't really the comp for them. I think we can talk a lot about game 2 because the early game from game 2 was absolutely scuffed. Like, especially for me, like that was so bad. So we started off, we were on blue side. They invaded our red side. And so me and Colby were like, all right, we'll walk to their red buff. And they showed up at like 141, like 11 seconds late to start on the red buff with their jungler, which was absurd. And I was like, all right, well, I'm fucked. I have to go start my blue like 30 seconds late now, so I'm going to be extremely behind. So I go blue. I think Gromp, and then I pathed to my red, and he had just ran straight from his red to my red with no vision of me being there. It just randomly
you just
found me
got
there.
hot souped.
You found me there, and then after that, like at that point, like I was like I was like on the verge of like complete mental boom, dude. Like I was like fucking, I was like holy shit. And I think I got killed another time on my blue side jungle when I passed incorrectly to check Scuttle when I should have just started like Gromp into Wolves.
Yeah, I think
But I wasted
just walked into you.
Yeah, I wasted 8 seconds walking up to Scuttle, unburrow burrow with Rek'Sai, and then not starting my camp right away. So when I rewatched it, I was like, fuck. I wasted time and fucked myself over on that one. And then it was just really easy for Mouse Mason to roam on that. Obviously the Zed has the push on Kassadin early. So that felt really bad. That was so bad to the point where I had to build full tank Rek'Sai, which is something I've never had to do before on that champion, like being that behind. But honestly, they played so insanely well. We did not expect the Anivia brand in the bot lane at all. And then Hey Dude 5 was like slapping some tentacles in the top lane. He was a little scary too. Hot Soup didn't quite do as much as I thought he would with his early lead in the jungle, but they're like team fighting. Obviously, they spiked before us with their composition, and they were able to just beat us in like every turn, and we were like chain inting, like especially me, a lot of the fights. But I mean, the Infernal special, once it got to that mid late game, they got the Dragon Soul, and we were able to out team fight on the back of Shu's insanely fed Kassadin and Cobalt's ridiculously strong Nasus. So, and Brevian was honestly playing this fights pretty well too, and Spence jumping like Caitlyn Karma. I was just a flash knockup bot, to be honest. Like,
yeah, it's not about you though.
It's not. Yeah, I was just a flash knockup boy with a Knight's Vow for fucking Rovian on Rek'Sai. But yeah, my team really pulled it out, showed some mental resilience, and brought me back from the brink of tilt to secure the W there with our late game positioning and fighting. So I was very proud of my team for that game, and hats off to Sentinels for making it a tough one because that was hard.
Yeah. Raptors know all too well that your guys' early game when she was playing Kassadin in the middle doesn't go the best. You guys don't really win early game, but then as soon as it gets to mid and late game, it's just like Shoes Kassadin goes off and like now he becomes a raid boss. And then when you had Cobalt, just had quite a bit of farm and his Qs were hitting like a truck too. It's just it gets too much. Like against Infernal, you have to close out quickly. If you can't close out before 30 minutes, it's probably not going to be your game.
Only when Shu's on a hyperscaling champ, but Sentinels,
which is what he plays.
Yeah, every champ he plays on a day that ends in a Y.
It's their team strength, so
yeah, it works. But yeah, I loved the brand Anivia comp. First, the Fire and Ice I think is super sick, but also pulling that off in your last game where you need to win to secure. Actually, no, they were done.
Yeah, they're already out.
No, they were playing at the same. Did they? No, never mind. Okay, they were 6-0. So they knew after they won the first game, so they're pulling out for fun. That makes more sense. But I think that lane works so much better when you don't pick it into a Caitlyn. Just I feel like Caitlyn's range advantage is super strong, and although you can hit abilities, having a shorter range AD carry in that matchup or one without an escape like the Jinx that Rivian plays would have been probably a lot easier to snowball the bot lane from. But honestly, that game was super fun to watch.
It was a banger for sure.
I want to see more of that sort of spice from Sentinels. Pull out the
season,
random
man.
stuff. Yeah. Which, unfortunately, Sentinels, we'll miss you. But you guys played well. So see you next season, hopefully. All right. And with that, Infernal, congratulations. Unfortunately, you don't get another undefeated season under your belts, but, that'll happen next time.
It'll be close enough. Just one loss.
Just one.
So how much are you paying Shu for this season? What's his contract? At
yeah,
for you
seriously.
guys?
I can't disclose that information publicly, but it'll come out end of season when we
Is he a free agent next season?
release all the salaries. Can also not discuss player contracts publicly right now, but
Raptors will make a trade.
buyout. We're actually looking to get Dardoch next season.
I hear he's gonna join a Bronze 4 Clash team, so
Yeah.
might jump in. We'll have to figure out how Masters and Challenger players fit into the elo restrictions.
Yeah, we're getting Dardoch and Crown.
That feels bad. Anyways, let's move on. Season recap. How'd everybody do? How do you guys think the teams ended up doing compared to where we thought they were doing at the beginning?
Do you have a quick recap of our beginning ranks for the teams?
I do somewhere, but I do not have them pulled up.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
I think I roughly remember mine. I mean, I called Infernal third place. We got second place. That's it's pretty close. I think I called Air Drake first place.
You did
And
call
they're
it
like-
first?
They're like, what, fourth place right now?
They are fifth. No, fourth. You're right. Fourth.
Yeah. So that was a little off for me. I think I had Ocean. I had Ocean making playoffs, which I think I was the only one that had making playoffs. But I'm impressed with them getting third place. They played incredibly well. I mean, I'm not super surprised by Bramble Infernal. We all expected those rosters to be strong. Ocean did surprise me. Their team play and the amount of work they've obviously put in practice is showing, and they had an amazing season. I did expect Mountain to perform a little bit better than they did, but they still squeaked in. So maybe they can turn it around in the playoffs with the addition of their new support Kanabi. Scuttle Crab was about where I expected, so I think there wasn't too many surprises, at least for me, as far as the standings, with the exception of Air Drake.
Yeah. Mr. Neat, what do you think? We didn't really talk to you about the relative strength of teams at the beginning of the season, so tell us, how'd you feel about everyone?
I think most people are where they should have. I thought Sentinels would do a little bit better than they did, though, because they always they play together. Like they're just really close friends. Like it's their group and it's the same group all the time. And especially with Mouse Amazing too, who's just great, but I just don't think he performed that great this year. And just as a team, I don't know, they don't really talk much, period. So I don't know if they're even real. They might not be real. Who knows? They're just a team that shows
Rec
up.
League robots.
Yeah, right. I thought they would be better. I'm kind of disappointed in my team. I thought we would do a lot better. I think we have a lot more potential than what our final standings were. There's a lot of games we should have won, but we didn't. But yeah, the standings, I thought Ocean would be a little bit higher than they did. I really like their comps, and I think they're probably one of the better, just well-rounded teams of the league. Infernal, obviously they got shoes, so you knew they would be up there in the playoffs. Their jungler's kind of trash though, but we'll get
very.
to that another day.
Super bad.
But no, you and Paco in bot lane though, we knew that was going to be a force to be reckoned with at the start of the season, so I'm not surprised there. And then, but Air, it could have gone either way with them. There were so many games where Icicly and Shoemaker did their thing, and then but they were so inconsistent all season, in my opinion, and some of their itemization was questionable. I think it's a few of the games.
Yeah, that's fair. And obviously for me, it's the big one, right? Ocean just I didn't think they were going to do this well, and I thought Vash was going to have a lot harder of a time swapping from support to jungle, and jungle's the one position they needed to have because, I mean, just based off their playstyle, we talked about it before. Vash is that early game carry for them, and I never saw that coming. He absolutely stomped. And then, obviously, the other one, I had Sentinels ranked pretty high as well because of what you said. They just, every season, they always do the same shit where they just start out really, really slow, and then all of a sudden, week 2, week 2 or 3, they come out and surprise literally everyone and just stomp people by doing this death ball comp of putting somebody on Hecarim and run it down mid lane. And unfortunately, they can't pull it off this season, which, yeah, ended up having them in last place, which is unfortunate.
I think they had a lot of roster swaps too, positions.
Yeah.
So
if you go to the positions page on the stats page on the site, there's a full page for Sentinels because of the amount of roles that their players have all played.
And I think that was probably one of the big positions. They just didn't have the consistency of where they were playing either, and that really hurts team chemistry.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. I don't know. I feel like, again, we've harped on this a lot for Air Drake. They are just inconsistent for how they do. And sometimes Sickly and Shoemaker show up and carry, and sometimes they don't, and the rest of the team needs them to be on their game all the time, right? I don't know. I'm also a little bit surprised at Scuttle Crab. I think I had them rated 7th and Ocean 8th. Tells you how bad I am at rating teams, by the way. They ended
right.
up 5th.
I'll balance you out.
Yeah, seriously. They absolutely surprised me. Pulling out 5th and pretty much, but they were 5 and 7, I think, or 6 and 8. So almost even. If they won that last game against Air, they would have been 7-7, which would have been hype. But Adoma has been playing super well. I think Ziem also has been doing really, really well, and Aetherfox as well. The duo of Silky and 420 Blaze It haven't impressed me too much, but they swapped roles, and honestly, they're playing around the team, and they're doing their roles to win some games. So, props to them for doing that.
Hell yeah.
I was expecting them to do a lot worse than this, but they're super fun to play with. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know how much of a skill difference do you think it is from the bottom to the top in this league right now?
Like 1st through 8th or 1st through 6th for playoffs?
We'll do 1st through
8th. I would say massive.
Yeah.
I really don't think, and I mean, obviously, I'm saying that coming off of a fucking nail biter victory against fucking Sentinels last Sunday. So that kind of deteriorates that argument a little bit. But I think that as far as the standings go, the skill discrepancy between, like, let's say Sentinels Raptors and like Inferno Bramble is clear, and not necessarily in player skill, but in like team cohesion is a big thing in organized 5v5. If a team has the ability to pull out victories from a deficit or to like capitalize early game advantages and have crisp rotations, that's a team skill that wasn't super present in some of the bottom tier teams, though there was a lot of skill present on those teams. It's hard to capitalize on raw skill when the team play is lacking.
That's fair. I don't know. I still feel like maybe less so for Sentinels, but more for Raptors, that they could easily take games off of any of the top teams, right?
Oh yeah, especially in best of 2 format.
Yeah. There are just so many picks that I think Raptors are good at, and they can play so many weird flexy things like the Aurelia Senna lane, which unfortunately against us didn't really pop off, but in a different world, that Aurelia gets fed and that Aurelia snowballs and carries the game.
Yeah,
right?
they did it in scrims. They won a bunch of games. I think they won a few against us in scrims with that composition. So there's definitely potential there. When it gets to the game day on Sunday, though, there's a lot of factors like intangibles that can play into a team's success when it gets down to the nitty-gritty with practice time and high pressure situations and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's the very first week too. It didn't help too that we did all of our scrims against you guys with Alpharas, like in the bot lane, and then due to the corona and his plane getting delayed, he wasn't even able to make it week 1. So all of the practices we did with our bot lane comps like didn't work out because like we scrimmed a bunch before week 1.
Yeah,
and so like all that got thrown out the window.
Hashtag no teams.
Right.
All right. Well, I don't know. I think, yeah, I like the series this season. I think it was very, very competitive compared to some other seasons where you just have one team that's really, really far up. But I think we've shown that any team kind of can take it to another team, and of course you're always going to have skill differences. But I don't know. I think the balance of this season was probably one of the best we've had.
Yeah, we destroyed the meme of the one team going defeated the entire season with by eliminating Gromp's position in the rec league. We have destroyed the defeated Gromp meme.
No
So,
more Gromp curse.
no more Gromp curse.
All right, and now we'll get into more of a juicy discussion. Things people are actually here to listen to. MVPs. Who do you think? I've got 3 names from each of you, right? Who do you think deserves the title of MVP for the season? We can go one person at a time. So name your 3, and then we'll talk about them. Mr. Neat, you're up.
All right. So my 3, number 1 would be Vash. Number 2 would be Shu, and then number 3 would be Jmu.
All right. Rovian's trolling us. So, Vash, Shu, Jmu. Why do you think Vash deserves it over somebody at, Shu's caliber?
I think just like Vash has just been an integral part of his team. He's the glue that holds his team together. He's always where he needs to be. He does so well with the warding and getting the ganks and actually getting his lanes to where it is. His score, if you look at the stats, it doesn't do him justice, but he drives the team, I think. And I think Jmu's doing as good as he is because of the pressure that Vash relieves in bot lane and applies to the enemy.
All right. Sounds good. And obviously, Shu, you had second.
And it's not even because he's just he's winning the games or he has a high KDA. It's, to me, it's that CS score. You're always relevant when you're going almost perfect. He has over a 9 CS a minute, which is just insane. There was a game where he had just around 10. At 40 minutes in, which is just, it's absurd.
Yeah, it feels like the league's too easy for him. Some games, he just having a 10 CS score or 10
I
per
think
minute
the teams just need to do an 0-5-0 comp, just run 5 in mid.
Yeah, 5 mid. Don't let him farm.
Exactly. If you don't let him farm, he's not a champion.
Yeah.
But nobody's been able to stop that.
Before Cobalt's just free farming on Nasus in the top lane.
Yeah. It does help out that mid lane seems to always be a 2v1 for Infernal too.
People say that, but that's probably the area I spend the least amount of time.
I just like
that's such a big meme.
It was true a while ago, but
he's just really good at playing safe and expecting the gank. So it's really hard to get one up on him. And even if you get a couple kills on him, it looks like he hasn't lost any CS. He hasn't lost any time in lane. He's just really good at recovering when something does happen.
And he's always relevant late game.
Yeah.
Which is, comes with that 300 CS score. And, I mean, you always get the hype outplays with Shu, too. The one against Air Drake comes to mind where he just TPs into behind 3 of them, then it murders all 3 of them.
And plus, everyone goes crazy when Shu actually does die. And without Shu, you wouldn't have that excitement for killing a Titan.
Everyone's got to have a villain in the league. Sorry, Shu, you're ours.
You got to have somebody to make Sable look good.
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
All right, and now Jmu. What's up with him?
Oh, he's just he's able to take the advantage and just play extremely well. And on every he's played a huge array of champion ADCs and bot lane, has performed well on all of them. He does really well with CLG worthy dust, and he just he dominates games. He is the damage for the team, and he just he does amazing. If it wasn't for getting caught out one team fight, they would have won that game too. When he was on that A champion, then the name is slipping because I'm dumb.
Felius.
Yes, that champion.
Eladios.
He just gets insane scores. He has the highest KDA in the league, and he's a beast.
Yeah, I do like that he was memeing his 10.93 KDA, and then we knocked it down a peg, but he's still the highest. Just because Pickle Popper died too much. Couldn't do it. Yeah, but I agree with all your points there. Jmu's been playing absolutely phenomenal, and I think he's currently rated as a Gold 2 player, but I mean, he's playing at like a plateau level right now. It's absolutely insane. And it
It helps
does,
when you get hooks from like CLG that he does
yeah,
on his Blitz Crank.
it
That
always
out a
helps
lot.
when you have CLG Worthy does landing all these cool engages. But yeah, Jimu's definitely been putting out a lot of pressure in team fights and has been there for his team when they need him to carry. So I like those picks. Zabel, what you got?
Um, I mean, doing my best to like avoid just like a circle jerk for the top three teams with like the MVP picks, but like it's kind of hard not to. Um, my top three picks would probably have to be Shoe, Pickle Popper, and CLG Worthy Dust. So, I mean, Shoe's obviously on there for a reason. We already discussed that. I'm not going to super elaborate on it. The dude brings a lot of intangibles to the game, not even just his late game relevance and farming, but you know, leadership, shot calling, and strategies in the mid to late game are second to none. So that's one of the big factors for me. Obviously, I have access to comms and you guys don't, so I can say that. But that's something that makes an MVP for me is someone who can pull their team up, just just by like not coaching necessarily, but just like leadership and strategy is extremely important because like on paper, our team isn't like a super like star-studded cast. We have probably some of the most improved players throughout the season with Cobalt and Spence Champ. Me and Rovian are about the same as we were for the past couple seasons. There's nothing really new or special coming out. But the ability for Shu to be able to, help with coaching these lower elo players up to a level that's proficient and honestly impressive in the rec league is second to none, and that's why he's my number one pick. And obviously, a lot of the credit goes to Cobalt and Spence Champ for putting the time in themselves. But we won't get into that now. My second pick, Pickle Popper. Honestly, I think he is the rock for Brambleback. There are a lot of games where you carry Eric, where Sasha exerts a lot of early pressure, but I think in almost every single game, Greg has looked like second best, maybe a conversation for best mid laner in the league with how he's been playing. He's just been absolutely popping off. There's been games where you guys looked fucking doomed, and Greg just gets his backpack out, says hop in, and then he fucking takes it away in the late game. At that Viagra game we saw last weekend, and there's been a few more like that. The guy's been playing phenomenally, and hats off to him for his performance. He's playing extremely well. And then we were talking about Jmu in the bottom lane, and I think a lot of that is not possible without the phenomenal support from CLG Worthy Dust, who just exerts so much pressure in the lane. He is a support main, so he knows how to play the lane. He knows all the matchups. His vision score is nuts, and he just does so much for the lane and bot lane that kind of goes unnoticed to like the untrained eye. But he enables Jmu to do the things that Jmu does, and he plays the support role exactly how he needs to for that team. Definitely the MVP of Team Ocean for me.
All right, awesome. Love that explanation. And I mean, all your points are very valid, especially the ones about Pickle. But I think for me, I would definitely have to put Pickle Popper as number one because, I mean, the boy's doing great. So you're the Pickle, you heard it here. Decade of the Pickle is starting, and everything you said is true. He's just super controlled, and I value consistency above a lot of other things, and especially when considering MVP candidates, you have to be good and you have to be strong in every single game for me, right? You have to not die dumbly, you not get picked off and lose games for your team. So Pickle Popper has been very, very good at being positioned, and his team fighting has just been absolutely insane this season. And he's even in the games against Shu, he was holding up very well. And I mean, granted, that was the second week, and we picked Garen game 2, so it's kind of trolling. But I think he's been really well, and I mean, his Zilean has died I think 3 times this season so far, and he's played it about 6. His KDAs are absolutely massive.
It's crazy how much he was actually able to play his Zilean this year.
That's fair. But the thing, Yeah, we'll get into that later. Pickle Popper's just been playing insane. My second pick would be Vash, as we explained earlier. Ocean just needs Vash in the early game, and he's there for his team. Also, switching from support role to jungle just gives so much more props to him because he's just been absolutely stomping junglers. He comes out early, he ganks, he's able to assert pressure into whatever lane he needs to, and he's just the dude's a legend. He's done so well. And for third pick, if I were a sane person and very logical, I would put Shu, but I'm not, so I'm not going to put Shu because it's just an easy answer, right? I think I would have to put out Rovian as well if I'm going for person on Infernal because, again, Rovian's got the same play style he's been doing for 2 to 3 seasons. He's looking really, really strong, and of course, some games, he can fall behind early, and he might not be doing too much for dragon control and helping his team out, but his farm is almost matching Shu every single game, and as a gold player, or I guess, is he rated plat 4? Nah, he's like gold 1 or gold 2, right?
Gold 1.
Yeah, close enough. But as a gold 1 player, that's absolutely insane, and his late game presence in team fights is really, really strong. And he's also, along with Shu, had to work with somebody who's new to the support role, and that's always really, really hard. But granted, he got to mold a new mind into playing the support style that he wanted for his AD carry, so yeah, two sides of the same coin. But yeah, Rovian has an insane KDA as well, and just he puts out so much pressure in team fights when Infernal gets the late game, and that's the style they want to do, and Rovian fits it perfectly. So Twitch chat, if you agree or disagree, feel free to flame us later in the Q&A section. We'll appreciate hearing your feedback. But yeah, you heard it here first. You're the pickle. Actually, you've probably heard it every single week so far, but whatever.
only for the past 4 seasons.
Yeah.
It only took a pandemic for it to actually happen.
Yeah, seriously. Oh God, I'm not gonna flame him right now. That's too mean.
Pickle-19.
Who knew that YOTP actually stood for Year of the Pandemic?
Oh, that's a good one. All right. Last we got probably the most exciting. We saved the best for last. It's the quarters discussion. And we'll take these one at a time. We got a best of 3 bowl series. Air versus Scuttle Crab happening at 4 o'clock. Ocean versus Mountain happening at 7. As the 4th and 5th place teams who both tied 1-1 in week 8. Air versus Scuttle Crab is going to be a banger. How do you guys feel about it? Don't think it's going to be a banger?
I think it's going to be a banger. I mean, we saw these teams match up already, and it was a 1-1. So if they put out that kind of, like, either team can win this series, in my opinion. I think there is, for me, a small edge towards Air Drake. In the playoffs, having that playoff familiarity with Shoemaker, Sickly, Dainty Taco, all former champions and all have been in the playoffs many times. Adoma has too, but I just think that the veteran status for Air Drake is going to give them strength in the playoffs, and I think that it's going to be contested, but I think it's probably going to be a 2-1 Air Drake if we're doing predictions.
Hell yeah. Of course we're doing predictions.
Yeah, that's what I have too, is 2-1 Air Drake. I definitely think that Icically and Shoemaker are going to tighten it up for playoffs, and they're not going to be making some of the mistakes that they make, and they're going to show up and they're going to take it. I think there's only going to be one close game, and that's the game that Scuttle wins. But I think the other 2, Air is actually going to just like dominate the entire game.
All right. I think it's going to be a 2-0 for Scuttle. I think they're going to come out swinging. I think the same kind of thing is going to happen game 1, where Air Drake is going to try to play for scaling like they do. And Scuttle's just going to have a huge advantage through the bot lane. I think Zim and Silky Bandit are going to bring it to Dainty Taco and Wild Tortuga, and they're going to have to really play well in order to not get punished in that lane. Because I think Zim over respected them the first game, and he's not going to do that anymore.
I think they're going to probably ban Caitlyn, and I think Isaac Lee's going to play something like Zed or Akali and actually just snowball bot lane really hard.
So no Twisted Fate?
I mean, that's kind of doing the same thing. So
Yeah, no, I know.
An assassinity type champion, like, which is what he's best on, in my opinion. And I think he's going to do that, and he's going to keep roaming bot lane. And with Zim not on the Caitlyn, I think he's going to be very vulnerable.
That's fair. I mean, Air Drake is very, very scary too with a lot of their drafts, right? They have a lot of flex picks they can do. Like, they can even pick the Draven and throw it mid if they want to. There's so many things they can do in drafts, so you never really know where anything is going. But I have faith that Scuttle is going to be well prepared for this because they're friendly and they all know each other pretty well. And they've played against each other for so many games. And honestly, the 1-1 series, I think, was a window into what both team needs to improve. And for Scuttle Crab, it's taking the early advantage and running with it. And I believe they know that their early advantage is going to come through bot lane.
Yep. Like, both teams at 100% like levels that they're playing at, I think Air has it easy, in my opinion. The problem is, like, what percentage are they? Who's going to show up? Like, you know, it's playoffs, and I'm hoping that both teams show up 100%, and I think Air's going to take it if they do.
That's fair. Air always shows up in playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm calling it. They get kicked. I'm calling that they get kicked out in quarters, and they're probably going to win it all. Get the third mug for Sickly and Shoemaker. Oh god, that'd be so funny. Yeah, the top lane matchup also is super snowbally. Shoemaker and Adoma have this season have both had very on days and very off days, so they're also ranked very similarly, and they play a bunch of different champions. It's going to be really fun to watch. I'm honestly hoping for like a Singed versus Set matchup or something super weird.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be pretty fun. But yeah, they're I think this series is going to be very, very close. And even if Scuttle end up 2-0, I think the games are going to be like down to the wire in the last team fight. Just like every game for them has been so far this season. What lane do you think is the most important in this matchup?
It's probably going to be top lane. Like, I think that's probably the most equal, like, skill wise to each other. And if Shoemaker goes even and is relevant, because I think Isaac Lee is going to get ahead, and he's going to affect the bot lane. So if Shoemaker goes even or gets ahead there too, I think they just win.
I think it's like deceptive. Like, looking at the matchup on paper, you would think the most important lane is top lane, but I would actually argue that the most important lane is bot lane. And especially if you're Scuttle Crab, I think on games where Zim has done super well, Scuttle Crab has done well, and on games where Zim does not do well, they lose. So if Zim cannot get a lead in the bottom lane for Scuttle Crab, it looks really bad because they're already at a detriment in mid and top lane, arguably. So they have to have Zim as their carry in these games. Top lane really never, I don't think, has been a huge deciding factor for wins in the Rec League this season. I think that's in large part due to the meta right now and how top lane is kind of isolated. Mid lane's pretty spicy, but I really do think it comes down to bot lane and specifically focus eyes on Zim for this series for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if Scuttle Crab are going to be able to take games off of Air, it's going to be through Zim in the bot lane. But I also, to Mr. Neat's point about Sickly trying to roam a lot, it's a lot on the back of Aetherfox too to be able to stop that. He plays, the Ari, the Syndra, the Cassiopeia, Oriana maybe, but like those are four champions who are kind of immobile, but also can put out so much DPS and have a lot of wave clear. So if he can just keep Issikli in lane without dying and keep the CS numbers to where they have been all season, I think Scuttlecrab has a very good chance of snowballing early. All right. There is that matchup. We have our predictions, and we'll see what happens. Most likely I'm going to be wrong. 2-1. You can't beat those odds, right? All right. And then the next matchup we have is going to be Mountain versus Ocean. Mr. Neat, you played Mountain last. How do you feel their chances are going to be?
Ocean's going to a Mountain.
All right.
they're going to take it to him. I like Vash in the jungle more than I do Shadow. Even though we didn't see Shadow, but like just watching them all season, I just think Vash is more impactful at this point. And I just think they play so well together as a team. Like they prepare quite a bit for every matchup, and I think they're going to be good. The question is, the only like X factor I think in it is like Charmaine and Crack Variety, them switching out. I think going on, if they do win that series, they need to choose one of them and stick with it. I think the swapping it is not. It'll work for the quarterfinals. I don't think it's going to work for the semis or even past that.
I love the swapping personally for like a best of series, especially a best of 5. If you have Crack Variety plays certain champions that you want to pull out in some games, and then if you have comps planned for another game where Charmaine more plays those champions, you can kind of work around your draft based on strengths of each mid laner, and we see a lot of top teams do that. Not so much recently, but in the past, a lot of Korean teams did that with swaps and stuff. I personally like it. I can see where you're coming from with the lack of like maybe synergy, but I think like the synergy difference between Charmaine and Crack Variety is negligible because most of the time has been invested into Phoenix anyway. So I think it's going to come down to specific champion strength of what they want to do in their draft. And I mean, obviously there could be some like draft errors where they don't pick things that synergize well with what either of them are strong on, but I don't think that comes down to like a problem with the swap itself. I don't know. I think it's interesting. It adds another layer to their draft that people might not be prepared for. It's something you have to do extra prep for, which is always annoying.
And yeah, I think Crack could also pull out some really, really funky picks like the Aatrox mid and the Ornn mid.
Nautilus.
Yeah, right? Like
special.
Doumbia, like you play Ornn mid, it frees up your top laner who's, a very strong AD carry player that he used to be in season 2, season 3. So if he goes for like something like a Vayne top, and then there are just a lot of possibilities that Mountain can throw out by switching Crack in, and having that X factor sometimes can just throw the mental off your opponents.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, I think it's going to be a 2-0 for Ocean. Just because of everything we've said before. All the Ocean players are playing super phenomenally, and I think Worthy Dust is going to have a very fun time in that bot lane. Sorry about your brother, Zabel.
I will say, so I actually think that I would rank Kanabi up in the top 3 supports in the league just based on his mouse movements and how he plays like the role in the bot lane. But I don't know. My prediction for this, I think Ocean has a large advantage, both in like longevity of practice time with their team, being set in roles, cohesion and like strength of their players and like defined roles and like what they want to do in the game. I think Mountain has the ability to take a game off of them if Shadow and Quaz, pop off. But I don't want to say 2-0 Ocean.
But you're gonna anyways.
You know what? I'm gonna be spicy here, and I'm gonna say 2-1 Mountain.
2-1 Mountain. Ooh.
2-1 Mountain.
All
You know,
right.
I think if
we're-
Ocean
we're
loses,
all allowed to be wrong once.
I
in a
think
while.
Yeah.
if Ocean loses game 1, well, I gotta have Eric be right some of the times, with the predictions. So I think if Ocean loses game 1, I think there's a tilt factor there.
You little bitch.
For some of those players, I think Mountain can maybe try to work with that. And I don't have like a lot of faith behind my prediction, but I'm gonna lay it out there anyway.
It'd be real spicy to have Tom if they listed Tom Noms as a sub and swapped.
Ooh, I wish they
swapped
would've
him to AD carry, then did the Swain Nautilus bot lane.
Like,
That would be a.
in all honesty, all you have to do to win game 1 against Mountain is to actually type in all chat the flash timer. That will tilt Shadow. I did that accidentally, like season 4, and it didn't end well for him. I felt bad. Like it was a pure accident. Like Shu told me, like, "Hey, type in this timer," and I did all chat accidentally because I'm not used to typing in game.
That's so mean. Oh god, that's a good one. All right, well there you have it for quarters. I think the Air Scuttle is going to be much more of a hype matchup than the Ocean Mountain, but I mean Mountain has shown that they can take it to teams, right? They've come out swinging early games and they play very very interesting picks like Echo Jungle or Silas, and if you throw 3 bans out at Shadow of Old, that just opens up a lot of options for the rest of the team. So
Does it really though?
It
That's
it
what,
does.
that was the question I was thinking about. I'm like, 3 banning Shadows actually not that bad of an idea because I don't think he's the world's strongest jungler. You just ban his comfortable jungles and it's a lot easier of a game.
Yeah, that's true. But again, we've seen Vash be so strong in the jungle that they might not even need to do that. Plus, Vash plays Silas too, so maybe that'll just be a contested pick.
I don't think Vash should play Silas.
Fair.
I love him to death. Wasn't impressed on it, but he could prove me wrong. I hope he does.
Yeah. We'll see when it comes on Sunday. That game's going to be played at 7 o'clock, so if y'all want to see if we're right, please tune in for that. I hope you all have enjoyed this discussion we've had so far. It's a little bit of a longer episode, but we're still going to run. We got the Q&A section coming up now, so if you guys have any questions you want to fire off at us, feel free. One from earlier today, I'll just start out with one, is who do you guys think has been the most improved player of the season? There was a call in chat from, I think it was Cop, asking for other titles other than MVP.
Most improved players. That's
Most
a hard
improved.
one.
It is, right? Because it's got to be somebody who's looked bad at the beginning of the season, but I don't know. I think for me, it would have to be Spence Champ. Just because he saw from top to support, and at the beginning of the season, early scrims, honestly, we were not scared at all of the bot lane. They just didn't look great. But in these more recent games towards the end of the season, he's found his stride, and he's been doing very, very well down there. So Spence Champ definitely for me.
Yeah, I would hard agree with that. I think I don't know if there's another one that I would put up there. I think Spence is probably like the epitome of that for this season, with the role swap and everything. Trying to think of who else would be a contender.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people that could actually fit that category.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like that, it's a very, very hard question because there's nobody that really stands out besides him.
There's an argument for I guess
Are you gonna?
I just sound toxic saying it. No, I was gonna say there's an argument for Dainty Taco, but I won't say that I've been hella impressed with the support play. Just that he's playing support from a different role, but I don't know that it's improvement to the extent that we see with someone like Spence Champ. Although there is definitely improvement. I wouldn't put that around most improved.
Yeah, Silky Bandit and Blazer Nerd are also good candidates. I feel.
Oh yeah.
'Cause they've definitely turned it up towards the end of the season.
Yeah, even Aether Fox too. I would say would be up there.
Yeah, I think Aetherfox just how he always is, right? I think he started strong at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
Mhm.
his laning definitely got cleaner though with his trading patterns and. But
Yeah, and I mean from last season to this season, I would definitely say Aetherfox, right? Because his CS numbers have just skyrocketed comparatively.
no pun intended.
Oh, skyrockets. Mr. Neat, do you have anybody other than Spence Champ you want to put in?
No, not too much. If I won a bunch of games, then I would put myself in a ring. But
fair.
but
He's saving up for the most improved player next season. He's got the pro guides ready to go.
Are you talking?
Yes.
No, next season I'm coming out. I'm going to be the best player from game one all the way to the final.
Most improved from last season. I guess.
Exactly. That's how it's going to be.
Got to put Valib out there for most improved.
I heard he
going from
has
Plat to Masters.
You're right. At
TFT. Yeah. Got another question for you though. Who in the league, in your own opinion, has the most resilient mental? So, Valib, I guess, is this on game day only speaking Sundays, or is this every like team practice, every single solo queue game you play?
I think we got to talk. Probably Rec League. But
yeah,
I'm gonna have to give it to Vash.
I don't know, dude. Vash definitely tilts. I don't know if anybody from Ocean is watching, and this isn't anything against Vash because everybody tilts, like I tilt, but Vash definitely does. Vash definitely does tilt. I don't know.
I don't think he allows it to affect his gameplay though, like other people do.
Right, but if there's people that don't tilt, they would automatically be above on the resilient mental rating, right?
I mean, you have your own interpretation of the question.
That's true.
So who would you say, Zabel? Would you put yourself up there?
I mean, after game 2 last weekend, I think that's a contention for
Hard
that one
no.
for not fucking
Hard no.
for me the sheer fact that I didn't alt F4 at like 9 minutes in, that's some fucking bonus points. But no, for resilient mental for me, let's see here.
It's weird, right? Because it can only be people you've played with.
Well, I've
And-
played with most people in the league.
Yeah, well, I mean, you haven't played with any of Raptors, right? If we're talking about Sunday games.
Sunday games, yeah, sure, fair. So you can kind of just infer from what you've seen from them outside of games, and then kind of extrapolate to in-game. But
Yeah, Brian the Broken stole my answer. It's definitely
What did he
Adolma.
Adolma, oh
Yeah.
yeah, dude, that's such a good one, man.
He never
does.
tilts.
I'm really sure. I don't even think that he knows how to tilt. I'm not even sure that that's something that he's physically capable of doing.
Has on occasion leaned slightly to the side. I think that's the only thing he does though.
Was there like something wrong with his chair? Like, do we have any like idea of the metrics of what he was working with and like the seating arrangement? Like, what's going on?
That's how you counterbalance when you tilt. You just lean to the other side and you're good.
He was playing
Yeah.
Mario Kart and just was leaning with the turn.
Just drifting, yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
That's what you got to do.
But yeah, Adolma,
Uh,
his mental
yeah.
is insane.
I
That's-
kind of
dude,
go
that's
with
the
that
one.
too. Yeah.
I would say maybe on stream too. He's pretty solid, mentality wise. But
Adolma's like-
I definitely think he can tilt. I definitely think he can tilt.
Tilt's from when I played on stream season 2, tilt wasn't the word I describe him as. Like he wouldn't tilt, but or like at least in the get angry and
I think he gets down on
uncontrollable at the
himself.
game. But yeah, the strong mental doesn't it fits, but it's not the strongest because like it's what my brother always did during soccer, right? He would miss a shot and then instead of taking the shot the next time because he missed it once, he would pass it away and then where he had an open net. So
Yeah, you lose a little confidence when you
Exactly.
misfire.
but still a very strong player and yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
guys
a
should
good
just be
answer.
like me. Even if you feed, like you still go at it, like it doesn't matter.
Is that what happened on Shogath season 4?
Oh yeah, the season 4 it was crazy. It's like we went into the matchups like, yeah, you're gonna lose lane, but like just don't get tilted. I'd be tilted before the game and then untilt myself during the game.
Yeah, but those are good answers. All right. Any other questions in Twitch chat for us? We can kind of wrap it up about now if nothing else comes through. Oof, we got a yes from Brian the Broken, but no question.
That is the question.
I've got an
Yours,
hour's worth.
baby.
Oh wait, is he talking about a sex tape when he says that?
No, that's only about 3.5 minutes.
Well, if you have an hour's worth, I have a worthy dust. Whew. Anyways, if nothing else. Ooh, that's actually a pretty good one. What do people want for finals broadcast? So, to anybody who's new, what we normally do for finals is we get 4 to 5 producers and casters into a room, and we have a green screen, and we basically just do it live. And it's always really, really fun, but unfortunately, we're probably not going to be able to do that this year, thanks to YOT pandemic.
Why not just get a bunch of plexiglass in between all you guys?
Yeah. So if anybody has ideas for like fun commercial bits or things we could do during the game or during breaks, if you want to see certain stats or have storylines about players you want brought up, feel free to bring them up and talk to any one of the founding fathers. We very much appreciate the input. And anything you say will be read, and yeah, we'll definitely
used against you in a court of law.
That too. Just don't say too many things. All right, and with that, just want to say thank you very much for everybody in Twitch chat for coming out and watching the stream. We appreciate having you. Hope you enjoyed the conversation, Mr. Neat. Big sorry on the season, but thank you very much for showing up here and talking with us tonight.
Dude, I am a Browns fan. Like, there's always next season, okay? Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, God. That is a good story. Except season 4, you won, so
Yeah.
you got that for you.
I got the ring, you know? Like,
Hell
so I
yeah.
always get to say I'm a champion no matter what.
Yo, it's a mug.
You guys got rings?
Rings are lame.
I made myself a ring. I wanted it to feel special, okay?
Hell yeah. And Zabel, once again, thank you for co-hosting with me. We appreciate having you here.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
It was nice when you're not practicing with your team.
I'm getting in the lobby right now.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate your support. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and check out the new Erect shop on the website. Games are starting on Sunday at 4 o'clock, and the other quarterfinals is at 7. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you very much, and have a good night.